Welcome to Godshots. It's September 21st, and we have an amazing guest today, Kim Constantino, one of my dear friends, whom I met on Facebook and then met in person this summer at the Met Museum in New York City. Hi, Kim, how are you? And hi, Darlene. Darlene, my co-host. We're co-hosts of Godshots, the podcast, and it's about uplifting each other, encouraging each other, and seeing the uncanny coincidences and the beauty in the world and everything going on that's good. Hi, Kim. How are you?
I'm doing well, Lydia. Thank you for having me.
Excited to talk to you. How are you, Darlene?
I'm doing great. Thank you. Glad to be back with everybody today. It's been a couple weeks since we've done a podcast. And so this is a very exciting guest and we're going to learn lots of stuff today. So it's exciting.
Yes. Now, Kim, tell us where you're from, what you're up to, and how is life going? Have you made it through the pandemic? Any adventures? Any God shots?
Okay, so I'm from New Jersey. I was originally a Spanish teacher. I have two beautiful daughters, Jacqueline, 25, and Emily, 22. The past couple years, I now work for Rolex, which is going to be one of my God shots that I'll talk about a little bit later on. But I did have a catastrophic awakening, and it was actually during the pandemic. I had a near-death experience in an auto accident. I was driving down a windy road and my car, I was going too fast and was not in the right state of mind. And the car veered off into the woods and flipped over in between two trees. Had I been a couple inches to the right or to the left, I would have slammed head on into the trees.
Oh my gosh.
So the car flipped over. I was in and out of consciousness. I do remember being removed by the jaws of life from the car and being rushed to the hospital. And when I was at the hospital, I could actually see my body. Like, it was like I was looking from the top of the ceiling, and like I was with I could see my grandmother with me vividly, who had
Really?
passed a month after COVID began. And that, when I finally came to and I see the doctors like rushing around trying to do whatever they were doing to get me stabilized, that was my spiritual awakening. Like I can't do this anymore. This is that, God, you're giving me another chance, and I better do my best to make good on that.
Were you
And
drinking?
the very
Were you-
next day, I not drinking, but I had Percocet in me and I had Xanax in me.
Oh, wow.
That was my question when you said you weren't in your right mind. So you were actually using at that point in time.
Yes, I was very heavily.
Okay.
I mean, I was using very heavily.
And how long had you been using when this
So
accident happened? How long had you
I
been in that
had,
lifestyle?
right. So I had 4 years of sobriety prior to that.
Oh.
But at that point, I had been using since 2018. And so that was July 11th. On July 12th, I woke up in the morning, hit my knees to the floor, and I said, God, I'm surrendering. I'm giving this to you. And I checked myself into rehab.
Oh, wow, it's beautiful. I've got tears in my eyes.
Wow.
I never knew this story.
Because I really could have died. And I didn't want to. My daughters hadn't talked to me since 2018. And I wanted that back. Some family members weren't speaking to me. I wanted that back. I had lost the job because I would go to work not sober. And yeah, so that was my spiritual awakening.
When you had that experience, Kim, and you say that you were out of your body looking down, and that's a very common thread when we hear people speak about near-death experiences. You said your grandmother was there. Was it tangible? How was that? Was it spiritual? What was that experience?
It was more like I could hear her talking to me, and I felt this very deep presence, like next to me, right next to me. And she had been my best friend since I was a very young child, and she also helped raise me because I had issues in childhood there was some abuse that went on in my family. So she helped to raise my sister and me. And so I felt her presence very deeply. And I knew that I this was something I had to do for myself. And I knew that she was with me, and I want her to be proud of me. And the next day, like I said, I hit my knees to the floor and I said, God, I can't do this anymore. Because I was also going through withdrawal after I got out of the hospital, because I'm lucky I didn't get a DUI, honestly, because they took pills I had in my handbag and they, confiscated them.
Yeah. And you know what, as a practitioner myself, when I hear a story like what you're saying right now, I believe that we have so many people in our society that are self-medicating because of pain.
Yes.
Like emotional pain that they're trying, that people try to numb, including myself. And you don't even have any idea what you're trying to numb. You just know that you don't want to feel something, right?
Exactly.
And so as a medical professional, I try to be very cognizant of what people are saying and what they're going through, because what we see in the 15 minutes that we see a patient, I could say, oh, she's an addict. Okay, she's a drug seeker. But why? It's to get to the why, to help people. And that's what this program is about. And it's so beautiful to have you on, Kim, to share some of yourself with the listeners, because I'm sure people are relating to you,
Yeah.
Yeah. So
I was also going through a very painful divorce. And so I do feel that is, what ramped up my using, because I didn't want to feel any of the pain that I was going through. I had been married for almost 20 years.
Well, here's a question for you. This is so weird how God intertwines people's lives and things that you talk about. And so when you're saying you were having the divorce of your child, or the pain of your childhood, the pain of the divorce, and for those of us that have been through divorce, it's like going through a death that doesn't go away. It just keeps going. It never kind of leaves your body. But my question, I guess, to you at this point, 4 years later, right? Are we 4 years later removed? So what's that been like? What's that part of your journey been like?
So having gone through a lot of therapy, I have completely healed from the divorce. And I want to go back a little bit, because when I got out of rehab, I went into a sober house and I called Lydia. I was engaged at the time to someone else. I had just become engaged, but when I got sober, he was still drinking and I knew I couldn't be around that. So I broke off the engagement, and we had both had purchased a car together, and he demanded it back. And I remember calling Lydia and I'm saying, Lydia, I don't know what to do here. I'm not going to have a car. I've never been without a car in my life. And I said, my daughters aren't speaking to me. And she said, give it to God. And she said, just put it out into the universe that it's going to happen. These things are going to happen. There's going to be a car put into your life. Your children are going to respond to you. Well, within a couple of days, I was reaching out to the people that I had made friends with while in rehab. And we were just chatting. I was checking in on them. They were checking in on me. And my one friend says to me, I'll take out the loan for you. I trust you. This is what we do in service.
Wow.
And there you go. I had a brand new car.
I remember
And
that.
I still have. Remember that?
Yes, I remember that.
And then you had told me also to pray on Emily. And then within a week, I texted Emily and she responded to me. She said, I'm not ready to speak to you yet, but I will reach out when I'm ready, Mom. Oh, and that just brought tears to my eyes, because I listened to you and I did what you suggested, and it happened. And it's like, wow, the miracle is finally happening. This is sobriety and this is wonderful.
See, I think we do need some of those amazing little, it's like God gives us these little gifts in the beginning to get us going. It's really interesting how I had so many Godshots the first 6 months of sobriety. So I kept propagating, the magic kept propagating, because I was so willing. I was willing. And there was not much more required than to be willing.
I found, like, if I just gave everything to God, I found that my anxiety went down. It went down a lot. And I've been prone to anxiety since I was a 12-year-old kid, and that finally went away. And just, even today, I can tell you the story about Rolex. I had wanted to work for Rolex for so long, and I had a job that I liked, but one day I had a job, the next day it was out of business. And I'm like, oh no, what do I do now? And guess what? I got an email from the director of Rolex. And he said, we want you to come in and interview. That was like out of nowhere. I had applied like 6 months prior. So I thought nothing of it. 6 months later, I'm thinking, this was not going to happen. They overlooked my resume. And now here I am flourishing at Rolex.
That's
so
amazing.
Another miracle.
Yeah, there are so many miracles that we can have. And, I like how you said you spoke to Lydia and she suggested, right? And I believe that when the student's ready, the teacher appears, right?
Yes,
And
absolutely.
So all of us are students in life, and we can become the teachers of certain things also. And I think it's just a cycle that just goes on in the universe. And I just find it so amazing. And I find that when we do Godshots and we talk to people about them, there's somebody listening. Like, I would like to back up for a minute, because you talked about having anxiety since you were a child. And now there's a woman that I know will be listening to this podcast at some point in time who's struggling terribly with anxiety and depression and cannot seem to get herself removed from it. How could somebody make you understand that that is related to your whole history? Did you figure that out on your own, or how did that happen?
Well, when I was 12, so like I said before, I went through this abuse as a child, and I believe that my addiction actually began when I was 12, because I became anorexic, because I felt like that was the only thing I had control over in my life. I'll control my body, but that's not a physical problem. That's an emotional problem.
Right.
And I also had I was diagnosed with generalized anxiety disorder. And I fought it through high school, through college, through my divorce. But it wasn't until I got sober when I just let go and surrendered. It was just about letting go and believing that you can give it to your higher power, but you have to truly believe that it was taken from me. It was just taken from me. And it's hard to really explain. Other than that, if you really truly surrender and you're really willing to work the program and you're willing to take the suggestions, these things that I was very depressed as well, but it just subsided over time. And it wasn't overnight. It's going to meetings, it's working my program, it's, keeping in touch with my network, all of those things, and just believing in my higher power, which I choose to call God, and giving it over to him. You're God, I know that you're going to do whatever is in my best interest. And really, it takes the depression and the anxiety away. I know that sounds easier than said than done. But it works. Like, it works if you work it, like they say.
And I want to tell you guys something. I'm looking at the wall in my office, and I have a big plaque up there that says, "Be still," which comes out of the Bible. It's biblical. It comes out of Isaiah. But what I didn't know is, if you put that in the original language form, be still means, and I think it was Greek. It was either Greek or Aramaic. I say that word wrong, so I apologize in advance. So, but anyway, it means let go. If you look that up, that's what it means. Be still means let go.
That's right. I think I just read that coincidentally the other day in one
really?
Of my
and so I think about sometimes in my life, and you had a situation with your girls. I've had it, and Lydia, you don't even know this yet. We haven't had a chance to talk about it, but I've had a son that hasn't spoken with me in 13 months. Not my 3 grandkids, not my son, not any of them. And I didn't know what I did. Now, here's the interesting part. I spent a lot of time in prayer, wanting him to have a good life, to be happy, and thinking at the same time, this is him, right? And I'm pointing at him, not realizing 3 fingers are pointing back at me.
That's
right? Right. And after this 13 months of prayer, probably about, I don't know, a month ago, I recognized wow, when that poor child was growing up, I was a pretty crappy mother, right? And not be, and here's the thing. I provided, I worked, I gave them money, they had clothes, they went on trips, they did everything they wanted to do. But I wasn't present because I
Mhm.
was too busy doing other activities that I shouldn't have been doing, right? And
Yeah.
so I think he just came to a point where it was just like he recognized he needed his mom and I was unavailable. And now I still haven't spoken to him, but I'm coming to the realization that when I do, that I need to just love him. It's time to just love him. He needs my love as a mother. I was not able to be a mother until this point in time. And this is a journey of 18 years of recovery to get here.
Wow.
Time takes time, you
But
know?
the cool thing about that is that regret and remorse, we can't linger in that thing that, oh my God, I made a mistake then. That's not at all what I
Mhm.
call my higher power God also, but I don't believe in a, I believe anyone can access this incredible power, which is within all of us. It's actually
Mhm.
within us. But we just have to open our eyes and recognize that we are taken care of and that love is our universal solvent. It's the universal force that sustains us, that sustains this beautiful universe. But I I don't we can't linger in regret, but we can actually redeem the past by instantly walking in the direction away from what you just are, changing our behavior, a living amends. And that actually works faster. They don't remember the past. When you marry yourself to an old accident or an old wound, you carry that into your body into the future and you almost make yourself sick. You have to
Mhm.
let go of whatever happened even yesterday. You can learn the lessons and move quickly into progress. Progress is the law of God. Progress is the law of the now. Now is where God intersects humanity. So we have to just change our behavior and they will come around. And I really believe we don't need to be needy. Like whenever I say to my son, I need you to call me, or he gets the feeling that I need to be filled up inside with him calling me, when I just send love his way, it's less narcissistic, it's less ego, and I'm just loving him. And you know what? Let him go. And the faster you do that, the more they. I had an actual experiment with that on Mother's Day. I let him go completely and he called. And he hadn't called me for a couple of years. So these lessons are really universal and they're fascinating.
Yeah, when my daughter, Emily, decided that she was ready to speak with me, we met for lunch and she brought her best friend and she said, you know, this isn't to gang up on you, but I need emotional support. And I said, that's fine. And she said, Mom, all I ask is that whatever I ask you, and I won't be mad, just be honest with me. And I was. And there were some things that were hard for me to be honest about, but I knew that I had to be rigorously honest with her if I was going to gain her trust back. And I knew it was going to be a process. But when we got home from that lunch, she texted me. She said, "You know what? This is the first time that I really feel that you're being truly honest with me, and I feel that we can start to build a relationship now." And now we talk every day. Emily actually is going for her MSW, and she's actually doing an internship at a recovery center. So she's going to be working helping addicts.
Oh,
So
wow.
yeah, so
Great.
I'm really, really proud of her, and I couldn't be more happy and more grateful for the relationship that she and I have today.
Oh, fantastic. I know you have such, and then now you have another daughter, Jacqueline.
I have a daughter, Jacqueline. Actually, she reached out to me a couple days ago. So it's just here and there that she's reaching out. So I'm treading lightly. But we'll see. We'll see about that because there are some issues there, like I spoke with you about, Lydia, but I don't want to,
Yeah.
you know, but yeah, so there are things that need to be worked out and some help might be needed there on her part, but I'm going to leave that there for right now.
It's beautiful. We have control only on our over our own reactions. And
Right.
if we I'm interested now in life in people that have overcome their lower nature and developed a beautiful soul through tragedy and chaos. It doesn't help us if we have had the perfect
Mhm.
past. If we were perfect, it's not the way the human race is. Not any, I don't know, a single person is perfect has done
Right.
motherhood perfectly, who's been home like Aunt Bee baking, and then you get maligned as well, probably, you know.
But let me tell you something about what you just said, Aunt B. I have actually been to Mayberry. Oh no, it was the most fun I've ever been. I spent a night there, and they have that whole city is like in
Andy
retrospect
Griffith,
towards that show, right?
Andy Griffith show, yeah.
Yeah, the barber shop where he got his haircut still exists, and the braiding of the man
Wow.
there. It was so cool to be there. So cool to be there.
Oh
But
my
you know
God.
what? Times were easier, and the thing that I found really interesting was Aunt B and Andy didn't get along.
Andy?
Like, who would have known it? But I mean, on set, they say that they really didn't get along. And here's what I learned when I was in Mayberry, just rocked my world. So do you remember in that show that Aunt B would every once in a while go on a trip to Mount Pilot?
Yeah.
She would be gone from the show because she was in Mount Pilot, whatever she was doing. She'd take her little suitcase and go, right? Well, Mount Pilot is really close to Mayberry. It's not far. And I looked at that and I was like, she was actually just going on vacation from doing the show when they said she went to Mount Pilot because she really didn't do it. I said, I am so bummed out, man. I thought this lady was really up there helping her relatives.
Now, for the younger folks out there, we grew up in the era of the Andy Griffith Show, which a lot of people may not even know what it is, but you should go on YouTube and look it up. It's hilarious.
Oh, and Ronnie Howard. I mean, what he's
Ron
done,
Howard.
like coming from there, that cute little redhead 6-year-old, it was just what an
By the way,
amazing time that was.
Ron Howard's one of the few child stars who made it out alive and didn't become a drug addict and a crazy person.
Yeah.
And he's raised a very nice family. He's
Oh
done.
yeah. Oh God, I love him. And he's one of my favorite producers as well. He produces some great movies and directs.
Mhm.
But they approached my son in a toy store and they said, you're out here in Hollywood, every cute child gets approached. And I said, no, I don't want to go through the stage mom thing and take him to auditions and have him be too cute and then be on TV too young and then what? It's not
Right.
real life. And it's very tough to overcome the lack of attention you get once you grow out of your cute phase. That happened to the kid from The Sixth Sense. What's his name? He's so amazing. Great actor. Child star.
I don't remember who that was in The Sixth Sense.
Oh,
I remember Bruce Willis was part of that, right?
Yeah, that was a really good movie.
It was a great movie. I don't
That
remember.
wasn't an Osment, was it? Haley Joe Osment? Was he in
Haley
this?
Joe Os. Yes,
Yeah.
Haley Joe Osment or Osmond.
Yeah. Osment. Osment. Yeah.
He's a great actor, and I shouldn't
Yep.
be ruining his name. Sorry, but anyway, that was a segue. I think that addiction starts. I don't know the trauma that we seem to all have a common thread in our past.
Right.
But the why
Right.
is really important. But then once you know the why, there is a solution no matter what your why is. That's what's amazing about the 12 steps and the surrender process.
But I just think, Kim, I look at you and I think, what a miracle. It was a miracle what happened to you. Not to hit the tree,
Right.
that out-of-body experience, that near-death experience, and to have it for you to allow it to change you. Because we have the choice to harden our hearts and say no,
Right.
and I'm sure that you've seen your life dramatically improve over the course of the past few years.
It absolutely has.
Well, this happened to you during the pandemic, didn't it? In 2020?
Yes. July 2020.
So you're pretty new back, but you're so full of life. I didn't know you before to be this inspired. You're ready to say yes to everything. She drove all the way from New Jersey to meet me at the Met at the last minute. And I'm like dragging my feet about everything lately. And I'm thinking, I need some inspiration, mojo. I needed this mojo today. Your beautiful story is so inspiring. And I think it's the injection of I call it magic because it really is magical when you just do that little step of willingness and then surrender, because it's not us doing the work. We're trusting. And that leap of faith is the opening of the door, the key that opens it all.
Yeah, and I have people like at work that say you walk in with a smile on your face every morning. Like, you give me energy. Like they almost say like, what kind of, you taking too much caffeine? No, I'm just enjoying life and I'm grateful to have this job. It's very simple.
Gratitude. Every day on Facebook, I see you posting such happy things. I'm like, where's she getting her happiness? Because it didn't dawn on me until we talked now. You told me you
Right.
had a godshot with a car accident 2 years ago, but you didn't tell me on the phone. I was waiting to hear this all this time. It's
See, it was meant to be today, right?
Yeah,
Totally.
it's awesome. I mean, I think that when you have profound things like that happen, it changes you one way or the other. You reach the crossroads and you have a choice to make, right? And
Absolutely.
so, but what's scary is, you know what? When we're in something and it doesn't, I mean, we can be addicted to lots of things, right? It can be overeating, it can be exercising, it could be a man, it can be
Twitter.
it can be alcohol, it can be anything, right? But when we're in that cycle of that addiction, it becomes our only thing, our best friend. It's it. This is it. And we have such fear in letting it go and not trusting that God is going to replace that with something better, you know?
Yeah.
And I think you're just an example of letting go of that at a critical point. I mean, so it's a miracle that you're sitting here talking about that, which is like very, very cool. And I want to go back to the grandmother thing for a minute, because that is powerful to me. And I'm going to tell you why. When I was still using, I had a dream about my grandma. And for anybody that's addicted to anything, you have that self-loathing at times that you just look at appearance like, I can't stand who you've became, right? And the outside world sees a face, a house, a nice car, a good job. And meanwhile, you're just dying inside. It's that emotional bankruptcy, right? And so I had a dream about my grandma, and long story short, she was in a window. I was playing outside. I wanted to see her. I was like, oh, there's my grandmother. And she had passed, and I ran up to see her, and she turned around and walked away from me in this dream.
Wow.
And I woke up crying, sobbing. All I wanted to do was touch my grandma, right? I got into sobriety very, very shortly after that dream happened. And when I had 1 year sober, I had the exact same dream, same window, same clothes on her, same me. But this time she came outside and put her arms around me and gave me a hug.
Wow.
Yes. And so
Wow.
I knew right then and there, that's really, I mean,
Wow.
speaking, the Bible says old men, in which I am, will have dreams, right? And so I believe that dream was giving me a thread, one of those hopeful things, like that can't be possible, that you have the exact same dream about a year apart. One time she doesn't hug you and one time she does, you know?
I love this.
Wow. You just gave me chills.
So something about your grandma and focus there, because I got a feeling that there's more to that woman being present with you than what you even recognize right now.
Oh gosh, absolutely. She represents your childhood, the warmth and the love that you first had, and the rescue.
And the guardian angel.
Guardian angel.
Somebody helped you not be, killed in that wreck. And isn't it weird that somebody that you really love that much was by you at that experience?
You know what's
Yeah.
weird? I've had
Definitely.
2 after-death godshots that are very interesting, which I probably should talk about briefly. But I wanted to say one thing about what you said, Darlene. You had the exact same dream after you got sober, right?
Mhm.
Well, in my first AA meeting, I heard my first 12-step meeting. I heard a woman from South Africa talk about she came in crying and sobbing, and she was a basket case. She had a horrible accident again with a white Mercedes at Fairfax and Santa Monica Boulevard, and she freaked out and was hyperventilating and was given a DUI. After she got sober, she shared the same. She says, a year later, I had the same accident at the same corner with a white Mercedes, and the accident went really well this time.
Wow.
Because she can now handle life on life's terms.
Right.
Yes, that's
She
true.
didn't freak out. She didn't get a
Very
DUI.
true.
She wasn't. But the after death thing, I was I've told this before, but maybe on this show, since we're gonna title this show "Near-Death Experiences and Godshots that are almost supernatural."
Mhm.
I know that there is no death. I know it, and I know it because I've actually talked to my baby brother who died of a drug overdose, and I found his body, and I prayed, and I thought I could never survive it. And a year after he died, he came to me fully formed, standing there, kind of glistening and sparkling. And I held him and I said, "You're alive. You're fine. Your heart is healed." And I was in a lucid dream, they call it. I wasn't quite asleep. And he was beaming with love. And he said, "I'm fine. Thank you for talking to me about God. There
Oh,
is no death.
Oh,
I'll see you
wow.
later. I'll see you later," he said. And then just 2 years ago, and this was in 1995 that he passed away. Um, the love of his life, also, by the way, came out to the funeral. On the way, she was drinking, nonstop drinking a bottle in the car and driving through a snowstorm from Dallas through Denver, and hit a family, killed an entire family and herself in a head-on collision on the way to Paul's funeral. But
Terrible.
2 years ago, I was sitting talking to my brother. I was just suddenly thinking of him. And I put an alarm on the front door so my stepfather couldn't wander off. He had dementia. And we were always afraid he'd wander down the street. So I had them in bed, and I had alarms on their bed as well. And I was up midnight, completely quiet in the neighborhood. I was right by the front door in my office. The alarm is on the door. The door is bolted shut. It's quiet as you could hear a pin drop. And I suddenly start talking to my brother out of the blue, weeping for him. And I just said, "Paul, I'm so sorry I didn't help you more in your life when you first came to Hollywood. And I hope you're okay." And at that moment, the alarm on the door rang.
Wow.
Of course, there's nobody there. I mean, the only way it could ring is if someone opens the door from the inside.
Right.
And I just knew, it was just a beautiful little hello. I know it sounds
and
wacky.
what does the book say? We will intuitively know. We'll intuitively know. And we start learning that. We develop that. I think that, you know what? I think that when we stay so busy, and especially if you're using a mind altering chemical of any sort,
Yeah.
you can't get the messages.
Right.
You're blocked. It can't happen. And so then when you're not using any mind altering substances and you slow down and you actually listen, I think that we have stuff that happens every day, little
Yeah.
miracles. I mean, what you experienced, Kim, was catastrophic, right? But I think that every day we have the opportunity to see these little God shots everywhere, which is kind of amazing.
It is amazing.
And the key is to actually look for them, to seek them, and not to doubt what they are. That's the fun, is look for all the coincidences. To me, my first God shot was an actual uncanny coincidence that was too bizarre to be random. I went, "Ooh, that's kind of cool." It sent shivers down my spine, and I kept getting those when I got sober. But I raised my hand, I admitted I had a problem, and I'd never done that before. I was too afraid anyone would know. So that first step is the admission,
Mm-hmm.
the willingness to kind of open that door. And then it was like they want to interact with you. God wants to interact with us as soon as we take one step, right, Darlene?
Right.
I believe that. And you know what? It's like we're his children. And I always tell people, I read a book once that said you're the daughter of a king. And I was still drinking them. And my girlfriend had given it to me. It was a very elementary book. And it talked about women being the daughters of a king. And I look at that and I think to myself, you know what? If we really understood the power of that, and knowing that we have, whether you call, and this is where Lydia and I intersect, Kim, and for our people that watch constantly, she comes from the background of, I don't want to speak for you, Lydia. So what's your background when it comes to God? What do you
Well,
say?
I don't have a religious background at all. I actually never, that's why I have the sense of wonder that, like, this is magic, whatever happened to me when I did that first surrender. It was very, I went to a couple of churches when I was young. I didn't get it. I kind of went along with the dogma. and I understood it very, very little. You know, I didn't think there was a practical application of the power of this magnificent force of love, the infinite love that now I call God. But I had a tangential experience of God coming into my life and changing me. And that's the first time I ever had that.
And so she comes from that realm, and I come, and I used to think I was very religious. And then I realized that, you know what? I was Catholic by religion. And so I would go into that confessional like at least once a week and say, Father, forgive me, I'm drinking too much. Well, how much is too much? A couple. Okay, you're forgiven. Okay. I'd head back out and do it again because I felt clean, right? It was like, okay, I can do this. And it wasn't until I realized it's not religion, it's spiritual. Because I'm in medical, I married the spiritual and the medical, and now I understand that from that perspective. So we've come together, and it's caused me to realize I don't care what the perspective is. When you're talking about God, it's all the same. You know, it just doesn't matter because the outcome is all the same, and it's love, as you've always preached about, Lydia. It's love. And that's where it comes from. And when we drop all of those barriers that we think we have and just realize that we're all doing the same thing. And if we just love people through whatever it is, it just seems to work better. And what do they say? To keep it, you have to give it away. To keep
Right.
it,
The whole
give
thing
it
is
away.
sharing, not
Mhm.
just sharing, but helping others, doing
Absolutely.
love and service to others,
Yep.
being
Absolutely.
selfish. That's the whole key to how this works.
Mhm.
And that's what religion should be. It's kindness. The problem with religion today, I think, has become very political, and it's turned people off. In fact, the Christianity is throughout, people have misinterpreted that simple rule of love one another and don't
The
fight each other.
golden rule. Yeah.
The
The
golden
golden
rule.
rule. Do unto others as you want them to do to you. It's really simple. And people have made it so complicated. Like, you know, when I go into a store, I don't care where I'm at. If I see somebody struggling to put their groceries in a car or to push a cart back, or if I'm walking that way, here, let me take your cart. Let
Me
me
too.
help you out. Let me help you with the groceries. Can I hold that while you put the baby in? I mean, it's just every day somebody needs help. And if we help them, then when it's our turn, the help just appears. You
Oh
know?
my God. I have to tell you this. There's a woman that in my early sobriety who was such a powerful force in the rooms. And she was the daughter of a very famous TV producer. And I can't say her name, but she used to bitch and moan. She said, every time I come down the elevator in the building, there's a shopping cart in there. And I'm so mad. Can't they just take the shopping cart out? And then one day she dawned on her after praying, after going to meetings enough, oh, maybe it's my job to be of love and service and remove the shopping cart for that old person or that disabled person that I don't know who left it in there. And the minute she had that change of heart, the shopping cart never appeared again. She
Wow.
never saw it again.
And you know what? Those are the lessons.
Letting
In
go.
my opinion, those are the lessons. It's like, you know, if you give, you get in return. And it's really simple. And I believe that, you know, I find my God, because, you know, you can make your own attributes, make it be what you want it to be. You know, it can
Right.
be a really fun journey. As you said, Lydia, in the beginning, you get to see all these things. But I think he has a sense of humor. I think, and you know, and here's the best part. If I make a mistake, it's okay, because he'll give me the test again.
Yeah.
I just keep
Oh,
getting
yeah.
the test
Until you learn
until I
the
get
lesson.
moved beyond it, you know? And sometimes I get really sick of the same test. I get sick of myself. It's like, oh, come on, how hard is this? You know, just do it. And I just, and you know, people nowadays, and I'm not trying to pat myself on the back, but like you said, Kim, people like say you come into work and you're smiling. There's a glow that happens, and you will know them. You will know them. The Bible says that you will know them. So, you know,
Yeah.
I mean, you know, it's the funniest. Okay, here's a great story. Great story. I was in Myrtle Beach Lydia, you know this, a couple weeks ago. I went to a comedy club, right? The last guy that came on was so funny, but he had a bottle of water sitting on his stool, and some of the things he was saying about the circus in his head and these voices that he always hears, I'm like, this guy has to be in recovery, right? And I'm just watching him. So after the show, the comedians that were performing kind of were hanging around the doors as people were leaving to sign autographs or do what they were doing. And I stopped and I looked at him, and I don't know why I said this, because this is so wrong. I looked right at him and I said, are you in recovery? He was, not like breaking anybody's identity, right?
Yeah.
He just kind of stared at me. He's like, I said, it was just things that you were saying. And he goes, yeah, I am. Right now, this is the star of the show. And I looked at him and I said, I am too. I said, and I told him, I said, I have 18 years. And he was like, oh, I just started this. And he started asking me all kinds of questions, right? He wasn't even caring who else was in line to get pictures. He just wanted to talk to me about recovery. He goes, well, I could stay here and talk to you all night. I'm like, I know, because
I love it.
language going on. And it's like, so you'll just intuitively know who people are,
I love it.
And it's fun. It's really.
By the way, I went to a meeting once in I was such on a high for the first 6 years. I was like, and I still am actually 28 years.
28.
28
That's
years.
awesome.
But I was so high on life. And I'm talking about full on life. I was able to go to bars, and now I'm still not tempted. It's bizarre. I got to tell you, there's something powerful when you really do surrender your old baggage and your old addictions. But a woman had seen me that earlier that morning, I guess sharing at a meeting, the women's meeting that I usually go to. And that night I was at a restaurant, the Rangoon Racket Club or some of those restaurants, and there was people at our table, and this woman, I didn't notice her, but she walked in and she went and looked at me and waved, and she went straight to the bar. She stood there, and I went over and talked to her, and she said, I saw you this morning speak, and you know what? I was going to come in here and have a drink, and I just saw you, and now I don't want to drink now.
Oh,
I'm glad you're here. And thank God I shared that morning. You know what I mean? It's like,
that's a God shot. That is a God shot.
Do what's inspiration. Exactly. Do what's in your heart to do, and don't let fear get in the way to stop you. Mm-hmm. And I've let that happen lately a lot. I've been very lazy about doing shows. I've been like trying to, I don't know. I've just been like saying no a lot, and I need to say yes more. Other people.
So I can tell you a quick story if you'd like to hear it.
Yes. Yes.
I just came to my head. So when I first got out of rehab in 2015 and I moved into a sober house in Freehold, New Jersey, I became really close with another woman. And so fast forward to now, like 2020, and I had maybe 2021, I had maybe 6 months sober. I had a dream one night that she overdosed. And I got up the next morning, and I was Googling like crazy because I remembered her mother, what her mother's name was, what the address was. I went through about 5 different phone numbers until I finally got the mom. And I said, Judy, I don't know if you remember me, Kim. And she said, oh, Kim. She's like, what are you up to? And I said, well, you just told her whatever I'm up to. She's like, my daughter needs help. Is there any way you can come down here and talk to her? I said, I'm there. I drove an hour and a half to go down there and talk to her and get her help. And it was just like, I was like, I can't believe I had this dream. And it was so intense that I knew when I woke up, I just had to find her.
Oh, thank God you did that. That's amazing. Yeah. You acted on the intuition that was given.
Yeah.
You.
And then being of service too, like you were talking about.
Beautiful.
But yeah, that dream I'll never forget. It was so intense that I knew something was wrong.
See, that's incredible.
And maybe that was my grandmother speaking to me. Who knows?
Your angels.
We don't know those things. One of the things I try to do, I learned this really simple prayer that just says, you know what, God, take me, and this is a daily prayer, take me where you want me to go today. Have me say what you want me to say today. And for heaven's sakes, keep me out of your way.
I love that.
That's great.
I also love take the cotton out of my ears and putting it in my mouth. Take the cotton out of my ears and put it in my mouth.
That's right. That's right. And here's an interesting thing to think about. It was a study. This is a medical thing I just want to share with you guys. So Notre Dame years ago, this was many, many years ago, did a research study because it just reminded me when we said take the cotton out of your ears and put it in your mouth, right? So Notre Dame did this research study and they had the same exact course, only they labeled it with two different titles, right? One was called speaking and one was called listening. Same exact requirements, same exact credits, same exact everything. Do you know that every student signed up for speaking and not one signed up for listening?
Oh,
Even though it was the same course. And because you know what? Everybody wants to talk. Nobody just wants to sit back and listen.
oh wow. That's...
But how are you going to learn?
Right.
Right?
By the way, there was interesting. I was married to a man who's actually very funny, and he was very quiet all the time, and all the power went to him in the room. It's like the quiet person seems the most intelligent, but he didn't have any of that. But he was just so, he was sort of like brooding and quiet, and everybody gave him all this kind of like deference because he wasn't opening his mouth every 5 minutes and showing what a fool he really was. Sorry, just.
Well, that's there is a joke about that or something. Open your mouth and remove all
Doubt that you're an idiot.
yeah, pretty much that's it. That's it.
But actually, there is something called silent power, and it is kind to listen to others and to give them. People really need your undivided attention. It's one of their primary needs, is to be heard and understood. You know.
So Kim, with
I
you,
even find that working at Rolex, I talk to so many people throughout the day, and I've gotten quite a few 5-star Google reviews, and throughout there's like a main theme throughout them: her patience, her listening, her understanding what I'm really looking for. So yeah, to speak about the listening, like I feel like sometimes I'm their therapist because they'll open, you get to know them, you want to build a relationship. It's not just about selling a timepiece, it's about building a relationship. So these people will start to open up to you, and I just sit there and really listen.
Beautiful.
And yeah.
Beautiful. I love that. And you're such a good, you have such a great enthusiasm for your work. I love hearing all this gratitude. That is another big key. Gratitude is the quickest way to, it's the most sincere form of prayer, I think.
absolutely.
Thank
You know,
you.
when I first came in here, I remember a man looking at me because I came in April and November. What is November? Always gratitude month, gratitude. And I thought, if I hear that word one more time, I'm just going to throw up, right? Because I didn't even know I didn't know the difference between grateful, gratitude, humble, humility. I didn't know any of that. Humiliated. I mean, humble and humiliated were the same thing to me. I didn't know, you know. And I remember this guy looking at me because when it was my turn, I just kept passing. I kept saying, I don't have anything to be grateful for. I don't have anything to be grateful for. And he put his hat on. He had 18 years sober. I will never forget him. And he looked at me and he's like, you're sucking air, right? And I looked at him and I thought, well, you are a real smart aleck, because I thought that was very offensive, right? And now today, I pray for people on ventilators. I pray for people that can't breathe, that have COPD, because you know what? To be able to breathe without assistance is a gift. It is a gift.
God.
Right.
You know, we can everything, our fingers, our toes, our eyes, our breathing, our speech. I mean, I know a man that had a part of his tongue removed because, you know, they thought maybe it was cancer. Wasn't a big part, would never even really notice it. It was enough. That centimeter was enough that he talks with a lisp.
Oh.
Yeah. I mean, it's like we just take everything. We can say S. It's not F.
Oh my God, that's beautiful that you just, that's we think a tiny thing, but it's a huge thing.
Mhm.
Yes.
Oh my gosh.
And I'm pretty sure, Kim, that that's some of the stuff that you feel after what you went through.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
Tell us some of the things that you've found that grateful for now that you never even used to think of. Just
Grateful.
yeah.
I'm grateful to wake up in the morning. I'm grateful to open my eyes. Those are things I never would have even thought of before. I'm grateful. I'm grateful that I have a life beyond my wildest dreams now. I might not have a lot, but what I do have in my life, I love every bit of it. I'm grateful that I go into a job that I have confidence in now, where, you know, when I was using and going to work, I didn't have any confidence. I didn't even care that I was there, but I'm confident, and it shows, and I'm successful, and I feel like I'm really going somewhere for the first time. And I'm just so grateful for that. And people see it, like you said about the glowing part. People, I walk into work and they're like, you have this glow about you. You just have this positive energy around you. I couldn't say that, you know, over 2 years ago. People didn't want to be around me. I was miserable. I didn't even know who I was half the time.
Now I see the beautiful smile and the honesty, and it's just so cool.
And you're so confident. Confidence is something I've wrestled with my whole life because I was always told by a certain parent, you're no good, you're nothing, unless you look perfect. And I still have that vestige of, if I don't look perfect, I don't want to be on camera. But you have a confidence that's really it's really attractive.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, that really kicked in when I started working for Rolex, because their own, this boutique is owned by a family, and they're a great family, and they really, if you do something well, they acknowledge it. And so they're putting their confidence behind me. So they're giving me that boost, and I'm running with it. And I just, like, even my boyfriend Mark said to me, he's like, you just, when the alarm goes off, you just pop up in the morning. You never did this before. You just was, oh, I don't want to get up. I don't want to take a shower. I don't want to go to work today. You know, and now it's just, as soon as that alarm is on, I'm up and I'm in the shower, and I'm just, you know,
Wow.
Can't wait to get to work.
And
I
there's
enjoy
something
it
very
much.
attractive about that. That's very attractive.
Positive reinforcement is so a powerful way to motivate employees, let's say,
Yes.
or anybody in your household, rather than chastising them and condemning.
Right.
That never motivates people. It just
Right.
makes them feel
And I
hateful.
had a lot of that in my childhood, of the chastising and the putting down. And even my husband's like, I married someone from my family who did the same thing. So, you know, so I had a lot of that chastising throughout my marriage. And yeah, so I get it.
Yeah, we pick what we're comfortable with. And
Exactly.
that's what you knew, that's what you were comfortable with, and that's the
Yep.
kind of thing you chose. And then you're
That's
stuck
so
in the
true.
same cycle again, you know?
It's that old Groucho Marx saying, I don't want to be a member of a club that would have me as a member. You know, like, it's like, talk about low self-esteem. But we do get our self-esteem back by doing esteemable acts, and by doing
Yes.
love. It's very simple. It's not easy, but it's a simple. The ideas are so simple if we don't complicate them with our brain. And when I think too much, it's a bad neighborhood to be in. You know, there's all
Right.
those cliches in the program work. Just keep it simple, one step at a time.
Yep. And
Be
that was
loving.
I think that was the hardest concept for me, because I've always been an overthinker.
Yeah.
And I think by overthinking, it caused my anxiety. So now that I've learned to really let things go, it's a whole different ball game for me.
Darlene, you've gone through a lot, and you even had palsy on your face recently. I mean, I thought about you the other day.
Yeah.
I'm complaining over they burned off freckle, and I was like worried that I had a spider bite on my face the other day. On top of that,
Oh,
and I couldn't lay down, and I'm going. But Darlene overcame a whole entire paralysis of her face.
On the right
As a
side.
baby, you know.
Yeah, yeah.
How did you get through all that?
wow.
You know, one day at a time. You can't change what's happening, and you just try to be the best. But there was a God shot in that too. Remember that. I am, and Kim, you don't know this about me, but I'm an assistant dean at a very large university, and it was right at graduation
wow.
time. And so I'm supposed to be on the stage announcing and being with these students that are graduating. We had thousands of students, right? And
Wow.
so I started becoming ill, like the Monday that I had to be there Thursday. My ticket to fly out of Pittsburgh was on Thursday morning at 7 a.m. And I was in the hospital on Sunday, and they were trying to get me through everything I was going through. Monday, I didn't feel well. Tuesday, I didn't feel well. Wednesday, I was feeling better, but the doctor was like, no, You're not getting on that plane. You're not going to Georgia. We don't know what's truly wrong with you. You're going to stay here. That was at 6 o'clock on Wednesday night. And so I canceled my flight. I had to call the president of the university. It was, I just was so upset with that. And at 7 o'clock the next morning, I woke up to a paralyzed right side of my face.
Oh
But
my goodness.
because I was here and my docs were here, immediately they got me in immediately, and I was able to get started on high doses of corticosteroids. So the course of that process was shortened because I was here. They just looked at me and they said, if you would have been on that plane, this outcome would have been way different because you wouldn't have been treated. And this could have been your life. And I know. And that was the grace of God that had that doctor say to me. And that was a big deal for me not to be at graduation. I'm like, I have to go. No, you don't. You're not going.
Wow.
And so it was like God doing for me what I couldn't do for myself, right? Because
Exactly.
So that's where I learned to turn to God and have faith. Those little things that I remember, because yes, Lydia, I've been through some really rough times, and it's like, but when I look back, God got me through every one of them somehow, and I landed at a better spot.
Always better.
So I don't want to say that I encourage bad things.
No.
But what I do say is that when they come, I have the courage to walk the path, because it's been proven to me over years that God works, and it all works for good. So, and I have that proof. It's like bringing a white shirt to somebody, right? And they come in and they say, oh, your shirts are so white. What do? I want to do it. Well, this is what I do. Use Tide and bleach and your shirt will be really white, right? So when people tell me this, what do? I trust God. I have faith that I will trust, because it works. It has worked for me in the past, right?
Every bad thing that ever happened to me, including losing my home and going and having to live somewhere else, and then walking into a bar one night to get a drink. Was that? Yes. I met a man who invited me, a really sweet friend, and we sat down talking. And I knew I had to quit drinking, but at that bar that night, he said, why don't you come to a party at my house this weekend? Went to that party, met the father of my child there. And I wouldn't have this child, and I got sober 6 months after my son was born. So everything that ever happened to me that was bad, so-called bad, because we're in a progressive line of falling up, I feel like I'm falling up in life. It's turned into something good because I'm willing. I became willing somehow, surrendering and willing, and show me the next indicated step, like you said, Darlene.
That's right.
Show me the next indicated step.
Always. And this is the us three faces on this screen right now. What we've been talking about. The next step will be revealed as this goes out to the listeners, and they hear something that. Because inevitably somebody comes back and says, that's just what I needed to hear today. Just what I needed to hear. Somebody needed to hear, Kim, that you had a near-death experience that changed your life. Simple, you know?
Kim, you are an amazing woman, and I'm so proud of you and so thrilled for you. And I'm glad we finally met in person, because I've known you a long time.
Yeah, I know. I remember reaching out to you in July of 2009. Never thinking you would respond to me. And then one night you're like, hi, Kimberly, this is Lydia Cornell. And I almost dropped the phone. Like, I
You're a big fan of our show, right?
Oh, huge. Are you kidding me? A huge fan. My parents were not allowed to leave the house when the show was on. We were not allowed to go. I wouldn't let anybody go anywhere. We had to be home at 9 or 9:30. It started on Tuesday night, then it moved to Thursday night. Whatever night it was, we were not allowed out of the house.
That is so precious. Oh my God. So yeah, I was on a series called Too Close for Comfort, and it was on the biggest night of TV. Happy Days, Laverne and Shirley, Three's Company, Too Close for Comfort, and Heart to Heart. The #1 lineup of comedy and Heart to Heart with Robert Wagner and Stephanie Powers. On Tuesday nights on ABC. And I remember talking to you when my stepfather had dementia, and I was on the phone trying to chase he was driving the car in front of me, and I went, why did I let him drive? I kept going through it. Oh my God, he's in the car and I can't stop him. And you were on the phone with me, and I was thinking, I never knew you were a fan of our show. That is so cool.
Oh, huge. And it was, I have a sister, Jackie. So she's
Oh,
3 years younger than I am. And I could relate. We both sat there and watched it because we could relate so well.
to the sisters.
And my
My
sister
sister was
Jackie is
Jackie
the
on the show.
blonde bombshell, like you. And I was like the dark hair because my original hair is really dark, like Deborah.
Well, you were Jackie. You were the big fan of Deborah. That's fine. I love Deborah. I'm a big fan of hers too. Thank you so much for reminding me of that. That was a long
Yeah.
time ago. It's still on every day.
I still watch it every day.
Oh,
On my
I love
break,
you.
I had it on my, I was watching it on my break yesterday at work, and somebody sitting next to me said, "Is that Ted Knight's voice?" I said, "Yeah." He's like, "Wait a minute. He was on a show where he drew a cow, right?"
Cow,
I said,
cosmic
"Yeah, you
cow.
want to watch it with me?" So he started watching it with me.
Really? We have
Yeah.
fans now because we're on every day on Tubi, Pluto, and Antenna, which is
Yeah.
CW.
I have it on Pluto on demand.
Oh my God, how
All
cool.
6 seasons. Yeah.
Did I send you pictures? Did I send you a bunch of pictures, signed pictures?
Yes, to my parents, to
Okay.
Emily, and to me. Yep,
Okay.
you did.
Good. I want to get you more stuff or DVDs and stuff. Maybe I'll get you a Cosmic Cow sweatshirt.
I
But-
have a Cosmic Cow sweatshirt.
Oh, you do? Oh my
Yeah.
God, you're the sweetest.
I don't even know what a
It's one of the
cosmic cow is, but I didn't even, that's hysterical. I'm sorry. It's just,
I'll have to hold one up later. But I just love you, Kim. Thank you for being on the show with us. And Darlene,
Love
you're
you
so
too, Lydia.
beautiful.
Thank
Darlene
you.
is so radiant. Both of you are just the best. I'm thrilled to be with you today.
well, I'm
And it was a
thrilled to be
pleasure
here.
meeting you.
Pleasure meeting you too, Kim, and I'm looking forward to staying in contact. That's the cool thing about these shows. We do stay in contact, which is nice. And I do appreciate this. And this is Godshots, and appreciate the audience that watches, and hope that something we've said here touches a heart, saves a life. And anybody that needs to reach out, call Lydia. No.
You can write to us at godshots.org@gmail.com.
There you go.
Or go to godshots.org. And also we're on Anchor, Spotify, iTunes, Apple, Breaker, Google. We're on all the podcasts, but I'll be posting the links below the YouTube show. This will be up on YouTube and on Facebook and on Twitter. Everywhere.
Thank you. Thank you, Lydia.
I'm trying to find a picture of
Thank you
Cosmic
so
Cow.
much.
Oh wait, here it is.
Yeah.
We're gonna see the cosmic cow is gonna take us out, gang. Oh, it's not showing.
Wait, you know why? Because I blurred my background here.
There he is.
Oh.
Oh, there she is.
Wait,
She was a
that's
she.
Ted Knight wearing the Cosmic Cow sweatshirt.
Very
Yeah.
Oh, so cute.
Very
Good
fun.
night.
You guys have a wonderful evening. Oh, there it is. There
Okay.
it is.
This has gone silly. Okay, love you all.
Love you too.
Thank you very
Good
much. See you
Have
guys.
a great evening.
All righty. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Blessings. Bye. Okay.